Hello, this is OC Skywatch. It is the 11th of May 2015. It's around 1 a.m. and I'm going to be showing you how this low pressure was unable to develop and bring rain to central and northern California, mainly to extend the drought. This is the 10th of May 21 Zulu, and yeah. Okay, first of all, you notice there's a bunch of heavy trails being laid over the northern sector of the state and off the coast. There's also some being laid off the coast of Central California and Southern California, which I'm going to be showing you at the end of this video. Anyways, yeah, you notice how this thing is starting to curl up into a good low pressure. This low pressure right here that went into Alaska came from the place over the Aleutian Islands I was watching a few days ago. It just like split off and this thing's starting to spin up, and you see those little clouds here? They're trying to form, but these aerosols here are preventing it from bubbling up and bringing any significant weather, precipitation to California, Oregon, and southern part of Washington. Okay, let's slow down this animation really quick, just to show how rapidly these aerosols are being laid. Each frame is 30 minutes apart. Just look at that. That's crazy. Absolutely astonishing how many planes there are being involved with this operation. Okay, this is long wave here. Just another view of the spraying. Let me slow that down really quick. Very, very rapid. Although you can see it better on water vapor. Okay. Visible. Same deal. It's kind of smudged out a bit, but it's still very obvious if you have good eyes like I do. Yes, I do a bunch of computer work, so up close vision is almost excellent. Okay, you can also see the spraying off our coast. Yeah, it's very, very faint. Bunch of photoshopping. They don't want you to see this. Okay, there's quite a bit of dry air over the state. There's a line here. And there's a little funny part right off the coast of British Columbia that it's like kind of a dry spike. This is May 10th, 18 Zulu. This is a few hours before these animations were shown. 700 millibars. Pretty much the same story, a bunch of dry air. Dry air over here. A little bit of a spike there. Okay, let's move on. May 10th, 22:30 Zulu. And you can kind of see spring is crazy still, and it's starting to come on shore in the southern and central part of the state. This is a very funny area. Very, very funny. I don't know what to make of it. It's just, wow. There's also aerosols being laid over here, and you see this thing's not looking so well here. It never looked well, actually, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. But yeah, very, very clear aerosols to prevent rain. There's a low pressure here that's wanting to form as well. Looks like it wants to curl up and come in here because the jet stream's going this way. But it's unable to. And this thing right here is a cold front that's associated with a low pressure it's being sprayed into. Also notice there's a bit of dry air starting to be pushed down right here. So the low pressure that's trying to develop would just suck in all the dry air and not be able to develop too rapidly along with these aerosols. Okay, let's slow this down really quick. But yeah, very, very intense aerosol activity again. And this thing is just a mess. There's like no center rotation at all. There's a little front to it starting to form, but it's just being sprayed into. Okay, this is shortwave. Just another view of the spraying, and not too much to say about here. Kind of see a little bit of strange activity in these clouds right here. Okay, this is visible. Pretty much the same. You can kind of see dry air being pressed down here. These clouds are somewhat disappearing, and it's right in this zone here. It's not very visible to the average person. Just expanding dry air outwards, and along with these aerosols, this low pressure that was going to form, or was trying to form, is not going to form, and if it moves over here, it'll just run into these aerosols and prevent rain. You can kind of see this island, this transmitter here, transmitting down here towards Cabo, and that dry air will go into Mexico. Alright, see all the dry air here? That's probably a result of that transmitter. Okay, May 11th, 1:30 Zulu, and you can see really intense spraying still going on. It's an assault on our state. It's an extension to the drought. The drought has been extended a good 5 days until Friday, where we potentially get some so-called thunderstorms. That's not going to do anything, most likely. Anyways, yeah, this thing is just turning into a mess here. Man. And you see the dry air here, right near this potential low pressure, just expanding, and it's getting deeper, it's getting darker. That thing's just gonna suck in the dry air, and there's also aerosols being sprayed into it, so that's not gonna do anything. Also very, very intense off the coast of Central and Southern California. This is the time where we started seeing aerosols in the western and southwestern horizon. As I said, I'll have pictures at the end of the video. But yeah, look at that. Crazy. There's so many of them. Just to extend the drought. Okay, this is long wave here. And nothing too special to see. Just the spraying. Look at that. Very, very intense. I want to check this area out really quick here. Kind of looks like there were some disappearing clouds of some sort. May 11th, 3:30 Zulu. The assault continues. By now the aerosols are above my head. These clouds that were forming are just a giant dirty mess, just aerosols, and there's no rain in this thing whatsoever. I don't think. Man, this is crazy. And you kind of see that this thing is just falling apart. And meanwhile, the dry air here is expanding even more. What is the deal with that? Looks like an SPX or something is trying to get dry air to pull into this low pressure that was going to form, and I know it's not going to form anyway because there's a ton of heavy aerosols being sprayed off our coast. Man. I don't know what to say of this. Probably if you shine a light during the night time, you're probably going to see it rain a bunch of nanoparticulates. I'm not even joking. Sure, there's some, but there's so little in nature. This is just like raining. There's a good video showing that. Okay, long wave, nothing special here. Just the spraying and just kind of a clockwise here. That's just usual for engineered high pressure. Just look at the spraying again. Very, very intense. Just showing the rapid spraying. So many lines. Excuse me. A little funny thing here. Expanding outward. I don't know what to say of that. It's just weird. This whole drought situation is weird. Okay, this is 500 millibars, May 11th, 0 Zulu. And you notice that the dry air has expanded up in this region off the coast of British Columbia and Washington State and Oregon. Very, very dry air all along here. This low pressure right here that was going to form should be moist, but yet the stuff is not being allowed to bubble up. And man, 700 millibars, 10,000 feet, pretty much the same story. This low pressure is pretty much dead. Okay, May 11th, 5 Zulu. Yeah, you could see this area of dry air suddenly expanding outward, and it's just the low pressure that was going to form here. It's just sucking it up. We all know that this thing is not going to do anything because of the spraying and the dry air that's being pushed into it. And this thing here, the clouds are all smudged now, and it's just dry. Nothing was allowed to develop. Very dry air here as well. That's Mexico. Also dry air here. Who am I kidding? This whole area was dry. Oh, shoot. Because if you look, just dry air everywhere off the coast of Baja and Southern California. That low pressure is not going to do anything in this area. So I don't know why I brought it up. Okay, let's slow this thing down just to see the rapid spraying. Very intense here in this band. The cold front that this thing was going to have, it's just completely obliterated. Not that it wasn't earlier because of the spraying, but still, regardless, less of a chance of any rain occurring. It's absolutely crazy, man. And you can also notice trails being laid right off of San Francisco and right on top of it. Central Valley's not going to get any good rains, at least for another 5 days. So yeah, they just want to keep the drought going. There's many objectives in here. Agenda 21, Monsanto, Nestle, profiteering, disaster capitalism. We're not going to get into that a whole lot because I've pretty much told you about it. If you want to really get into the thing, you're going to have to do your own research, man. I'm just one guy, and I'm trying to show you what's going on in this state and what's affecting the regions around it. Yeah, just look at the rapid, intense spraying. May 11th, 5 Zulu. This is shortwave again. You can kind of see just the spraying in general and just the high pressure out here. Nothing too special here. Let me slow this down. Very intense. Yeah, this low pressure that was going to form is just, there's no rotation in it whatsoever and not going to do anything. And the front is just screwed up as well. Okay, this is my final frame here. Okay, May 11th, 6 Zulu, an hour after the previous thing. Not a whole lot to say, just a bunch of spraying activity. And this dry air here just keeps expanding. Gets deeper and deeper. Alright, sorry about that. Anyways, yeah, look at the intense spraying, and there's very dry air here. And this low pressure that was forming, it's pretty much crushed now. There's no sign of development or anything. It's just closing in, just being smashed. You can see the aerosols here, and aerosols towards the high pressure and the expanding dry air. This potential low pressure is doing nothing. It's not going to do anything. so I don't know why I keep bringing it up. Okay, let's slow this thing down really quick. Very, very intense still. It's all being done to maintain the drought, I can assure you that. They don't want us to have any water or anything. They want us to be dependent on the system. And, oh man, this whole situation is just horrible. We have psychopaths that are orchestrating this false disaster. Okay, this is long wave here. It's pretty much the same deal. I'm just giving you multiple views of what's going on. Funding clouds disappearing here. Probably more ways to kill this storm. Okay, let's see. Yeah, very dry air. I think that pretty much covers it. There's a bunch of aerosol spraying just to finish this thing off. Here on the western side, and on the eastern side is where the front is. Yeah, it's completely obliterated. There's nothing happening here. It's just being squashed now. And these aerosols are just to help ensure that it dies. Look at that rotation there. That's very, very funny. But those are lower level clouds, I must tell you. Yeah, I think that's about it. Let's get a recap on what happened here. Okay, let's restart this animation. Okay, first of all, you notice that this thing that came from the Aleutian Islands, it kind of split off and tried to develop into this low pressure, but it wasn't able to. Okay, let's stop this thing really quick. And yeah, this would have been a good rainmaker for the Central Valley and Northern California. You can see here the front is just filled with aerosols and nothing more than that. There's a low pressure that was going into Alaska. That came from the Aleutian Islands. I talked about that a few days ago. It was doing nothing. And yeah, this thing split off. And yeah, that's pretty much a summary of what happened. Things split off, and this thing started forming, and they had to kill it, pretty much, so it wouldn't bring rain to our state, and bring reduced rain to Washington and Oregon. Alright, it's been around 2 hours since I did my first segment on this video, but just recently the assault grew quite a bit more over Central and Southern California. Look at the extreme heavy aerosol spraying over my area and up in the San Joaquin Valley. My gosh. And look offshore. That's ridiculous. And they're doing it inside of the Inland Empire as well. Absolutely crazy. Okay, let's slow this down a bit. It's just within the last good hour and a half. It's just really ramped up here. My eyes are burning. It's terrible. I can't live like this much longer. Okay, let's do normal animation speed. And you can see pretty much the area of low pressure is dead. They were still spraying pretty heavily in this would-be cold front. And notice this dry area has expanded rapidly, like crazy. It's much bigger than it was. And this low pressure that was going to form is officially gone. All the spraying and all the dry air, that means death to a storm that could potentially bring some rain to northern Baja and maybe down here as well. Speaking of which, this thing is not going to do anything because it's just dry. Okay, it's 4:30 a.m. right now, May 11th, 11 Zulu, and they're still hammering us really hard. I'm having a really bad time right now. My throat hurts right now, my nose. I have a dull headache, and my eyes are burning. I'm in horrible shape now. But this image, you could see what's above us. Very, very heavy spraying. It's ridiculous. There's a little bit of some storm activity starting to bubble up in Northern California, but it's not doing anything really significant, so yeah. It's probably because it's between these bands of huge aerosols, so stuff is allowed to bubble up. That's about it right now. I just wanted to show you the massive aerial assault that we've been under. Have a good look at it. Let's slow down. Let's slow down this a little bit. Look how intense this thing is. It's ridiculous. I'm having a horrible time. Hell, I'm probably gonna try to get an image of the moon right now, covered in this kind of junk. Okay, it's May 12th, around 12:50 a.m. This map is showing May 11th, 21:30 Zulu, and you can see the assault is still going on here. It's been a very hard day for me. You see these storms trying to bubble up, and this thing trying to still curl up into a low pressure, but unfortunately though, it's not going to do a real good job. And you can kind of see this low pressure here has started to form. That's not going to do anything for us. And you also notice that there's a little notch here. They're going to start driving the jet stream south, so we get a low pressure in this area in the next few days. Okay, this map right here, May 12th, 7 Zulu, and yeah, you kind of see this notch more starting to take shape. There's a little bit of stuff bubbling up here still, but it's just looking really, really funny, and yeah, they're still spraying over Southern California right as I speak. Let me show you this really quick. Earlier it was heavier, but man, they're still hammering us pretty hard. I'm gonna now show you some images. Oh, just one quick thing before I show you the images. I stumbled across some NASA satellite data, and you're gonna love this. Okay, this is May 8th, and you can see pretty heavy spraying along the west coast, around 200 or so miles offshore. Wait, maybe 300, just using the scale right there. You can kind of see here the weakened end of the low pressure. Very, very mysterious. This is us getting some rain, most likely. Okay, May 9th. Seems like the aerosols are right here still. You can really see it, even though they kind of look filtered out a bit. But here in Southern California, we didn't have any aerosol trails. And wait, maybe this is aerosol trail as well. I don't know. Okay, May 10th, extremely heavy trails over the northern sector of the state and some off our coast. Very, very visible. They try to hide it, but you ain't gonna hide anything from me. I'm gonna find something. But yeah, look at that. Pretty neat stuff. These are all aerosols as well. And May 11th, extremely heavy spraying over Southern California. You can see that. It's very, very visible. It's crazy. And all these things right here are aerosols as well. And there's some near Bakersfield that are very heavy and still off our coast. Man. Anyways, I just wanted to show you that really quick. Now on with a few images that I have to share.